How to make a man fall in love for real. A look through Carl Jung's ideas. Men are not just logic and strength. Behind their external confidence are hidden deep impulses that drive them in relationships. Carl Jung, the great psychoanalyst, said that a man's ego is formed through tension, growth, reflection, and recognition. That is why relationships become not only a romantic story for a man, but also an arena where he gets to know himself. Today I will tell you about 7 steps that lead a man to fall in love, and this will help you look at men in a new way. This is not about games and manipulation, it is about understanding psychology, thanks to which you will become a woman next to whom a man feels real. But before we begin, I will ask one thing. If what I am talking about resonates inside you, subscribe to the channel. This helps me to continue to create sincere and deep content based on real psychology, and not on superficial advice from the internet. Even if you listen to this video in the background, let it just play. Your subconscious absorbs every word. And Jung said that the unconscious never sleeps. So let's begin. Usually we are told that men fall in love with a beautiful appearance, a sweet smile, a slender figure. And the woman tries her best, takes care of her appearance, dresses beautifully, and is on a diet. In addition, she is always nice to him, quickly answers calls and messages. And yes, this may catch his attention, but it does not touch the heart. Carl Jung discovered one important thing. A man does not fall in love with your face or even with your personality. He falls in love with his feelings that he experiences next to you, with his own ego. Jung wrote that the ego is a bridge between the inner I and the image that we broadcast to the world. For a man, his ego is the whole universe. This is how he sees himself, who he wants to appear to be, and who he aspires to be. And when a woman touches this part of him, everything changes. A man begins to reach out to her not because she is beautiful, but because next to her he feels like he has always wanted to be. Imagine. He may not admit it to you in words, but inside you will feel like you have discovered a version of him that he himself has a hard time finding. You become a woman who is hard to forget. First, feed his pride, not his vanity. It's a fact that men do appreciate compliments, but if you want to do more than just make him feel good for a second, and really touch his ego and make him feel attracted, you need to go deeper. There's a huge difference between vanity and pride. Vanity is superficial, the usual compliments anyone can give you. That's a great shirt, or you have beautiful eyes. Yes, it's nice to hear, but it's quickly forgotten. Vanity is superficial. Pride touches the very core of his identity. It's who he thinks he is, his values, his abilities, what he wants to believe about himself. When your words reinforce that inner idea, he doesn't just feel good, he feels seen. Instead of "you're smart," try saying, "I love how you notice details that others don't." Don't say "you're successful," say "you've created something that many people don't even dream of." This is how you touch the depths of his personality, confirming something that he himself may not yet be aware of. And it is precisely the fact that you see it that helps him begin to believe it. At this point, you are not just the woman in his life, you are the one who sees him in a way that no one else can. Jung said that we look outside for what we lack inside. If you confirm what he betrays, he will not let you go easily. Seeing himself through your eyes, he begins to associate his value with you. But remember, words have power only when they come from a woman who values herself, who does not give herself away easily. And this smoothly brings us to the next point. Second, let him win you, but in a way that he deserves. Remember, men rarely fall in love with what comes easy. Ease may attract them for a while, but if you open up too quickly and are always available, something inside him gradually fades away, and he often does not even understand why. The reason lies in the male ego. It connects value with effort. Jung said that true growth is born through tension. In relationships, this manifests itself when there is something really valuable nearby, but it is not immediately available and must be won. If you give yourself without him doing something for it, if you always initiate a conversation, constantly take the initiative and give attention without restrictions, his ego receives the signal, "I do not need to try." And where there is no effort, there is no growth, and interest gradually fades. But this is not about being cold or playing. The point is to create a space where he himself makes a move, takes the initiative, and seeks you. Let him feel that your attention is a value that must be earned. Do not respond instantly, do not decide everything for him. Let your absence be felt. Let him lack your energy. This small emptiness, this silence awakens the thought in his ego, I must do more to be near her. When he actually makes a move to win you over, the connection with you deepens. You are no longer just a woman in his life. You are an emotional achievement that he has earned through his own efforts. This kind of attachment does not break easily because everything that is won is protected. But there is a more powerful effect. When you do not just make him feel valuable, but reflect the man he dreams of becoming, it changes everything. You become not just desirable, but the one through whom he sees the best version of himself. Third, reflect his ideal self, not the man he is now. Every man has two versions of himself. One is the one he shows the world. The other is a quieter, deeper version, the one he wants to be but hasn't yet become. This is the version that lives in his mind as a possibility. Most people only see the man he already is. But a woman who leaves a real mark sees what hasn't yet manifested. Carl Jung talked about the ideal self, the unconscious image that every person strives for. For a man, this is associated with the desire for success, recognition, to leave a mark. When you see this potential, name it, and reflect it without pressure or exaggeration, you touch his ego in a completely different way. It's not about empty praise, but about speaking directly to his inner vision of himself. For example, if he's unsure about a career move or decision, you can say, I think you have a mind that goes beyond what you're experiencing right now, as if you haven't found your place yet, or your outlook on things is unusual. There's something in you that's made for more. You're not just confirming his feelings, you're forming an ideal that's still being built. For the male ego, this is real energy. Most people react to what a man shows on the outside. You see what he hasn't achieved yet. This puts you in a completely different category. You become a reflection of his highest version. Jung said that a person becomes what he believes he can be. Sometimes this belief is born through someone else's gaze when a man begins to see his ideal self in you. Not because you're making something up, but because you genuinely see his potential. He begins to strive for this self with greater determination and connects his growth with you. At that moment, you stop being just a woman, you become a space where his best version begins to form. This becomes an addiction for his ego. He wants to maintain a connection with someone who helps him grow. The next step is about how to challenge a man. Many women think this will push him away. In fact, if you do it right, it can bring him closer to you than you think. Point 4. Challenge, but don't put him down. Men rarely admit it out loud, but almost everyone carries a burden inside themselves to prove that they are strong enough, successful enough, and able to keep things under control. They may look confident on the outside, but deep down they harbor betrayals and fears of not being enough. It is this hidden vulnerability that can be tapped into in a way that challenges them, in a way that inspires rather than destroys. Jung wrote that inner transformation is born out of conflict, but if you approach it with judgment or pressure, a man will simply close down. Your job is to be a spark of growth, not a critic. Don't say you're doing it wrong or I know better. Instead, show that you see more in him than he's letting on. Imagine, he is stuck, complaining but not taking action. It is easy to poke him with the phrase, "So what are you going to do?" But such words hurt his ego and turn on the defense. Or you can say it differently. I have a feeling that you were created for more. Right now you seem to be on pause, but I see that you have the strength for the next step. Such words do not belittle but awaken. They show that even in the moment of his weakness, you believe in him. And this connects a man with you deeper because he begins to feel. Next to you he grows. Challenging is not criticism. It is the ability to believe in a man more than he believes in himself. When this is done sincerely, gently, and with understanding, you do not just inspire him. You become part of his inner growth. Point 5. Make him feel like your protector. One of the most powerful archetypes that Jung talked about is the archetype of the hero or protector. Even the most modern man, with equal views and an independent woman by his side, still carries within himself this ancient need to be the one who protects. And this is not about you being weak or unable to cope without him. It is about giving him space to show his strength. Here is where many women make one common mistake. They think, I am independent, which means I never need to ask for anything. But the truth is that allowing a man to show care does not mean giving up your own power. It means making him feel that his presence matters. Ask him to open a jar, carry a bag, ask his opinion even if you have your own. Tell him that you feel calmer next to him, not because you cannot cope alone, but because his energy makes your life warmer and safer. For the male ego, it's like oxygen, a feeling that he is needed. When a man understands that he is useful next to you, whether through big actions or small gestures, he becomes emotionally attached. His identity begins to connect with you. I am important here. I have a role next to this woman. And everything that the ego considers its achievement, it protects. And when this protection connects with you, the man begins to see the relationship not just as a partnership, but as a space where he expresses himself completely. Sixth, disappear at the right moment. Make him miss you. Sometimes the most powerful way to touch a man's ego is to withdraw. If you are always available, quick to respond, start conversations, and are constantly present, he loses contrast. Without contrast, his ego does not understand what he is losing. And if he does not feel the loss, he does not value the presence. Carl Jung talked about individuation, the process of self-knowledge through contrast, separation, and silence. In love, this works more powerfully than we think. Your pause, your space, your silence create an echo that makes him hear your emotions even when you are silent. When you disappear gracefully, not as a punishment, but as a sign of self-respect, your energy begins to resonate in his mind. He plays your words, your voice, your looks. And if you were able to touch his ego before, this absence will not be empty, it will be profound. It is not about manipulation, but about creating emotional clarity. You allow him to feel what he does not feel when you are always there. When you leave calmly without drama and reproach, his ego remains empty without you. This emptiness awakens desire, the desire to reconnect not with just anyone, but with the one person who made him feel real. Giving space does not mean letting go. It means allowing his ego to miss you. If you were the woman who helped him see himself more clearly, more powerfully, more authentically, your absence does not just hurt, it transforms. And the male ego can't stand the loss of what made him feel like a real man. But the depth of this is even more pronounced. When he comes back, he must feel that he can be himself around you, even in his most vulnerable moments. This type of love is born only where there is safety and trust. Seventh, become his emotional refuge. Every man carries invisible baggage inside. Old grievances, BTAs, fears, and vulnerabilities. Even the most confident and strong on the outside often hide a shadow inside, that part of themselves that we are afraid to show to the world. Carl Jung said that a shadow is everything we hide for fear of rejection. For men, this is most often sadness, insecurity, vulnerability. And do you know what they really crave? To find a place where they can stop playing a role and just be themselves. But a man will not be able to say this directly. And here you can become for him not a therapist, not a savior, but a calm and warm space where he can take off his armor without fear of judgment. You do not need to give answers to all his problems. It is enough to show that his vulnerability does not scare you. When he shares a weakness, you can say something simple. I am here. I do not expect you to always be strong. I care about the real you. At such moments, his ego stops feeling threatened, and a man can allow himself to be real for the first time. It is in this silence and acceptance that he begins to love more deeply. This does not mean tolerating a bad attitude or taking on his burden. It means being emotionally stable, present, not devaluing, not criticizing, and not dissolving in his chaos. When he sees that he can collapse next to you, and you do not use this against him, he begins to trust. And trust is more valuable to a man than any passion, because in a world where everyone expects strength from him, it is you who accepts him as he is. And this feeling is liberating. He stops playing a role and for the first time feels, I can be myself next to her. Women often think that you can keep a man if you give everything and more. But in fact, he stays where he feels that he is seen for who he is, where he is not only respected and inspired, but also accepted in his weaknesses. And then love stops being a game of who will win but becomes a real union. If this video resonates with you, think about which words touched you the most. And remember, your strength is not in giving endlessly, but in being the woman next to whom a man feels whole.